Hi, welcome to the London Festival of Architecture. I'm Sahana Gero and I'm the Artistic Director of World Heartbeat Music Academy. We're really excited to be giving you this show today, and we've got a really great show. The theme of this London Festival of Architecture this year is care, and music and care and humanity is... Shall I do it all over again? Hi, welcome to the London Festival of Architecture 2021. I'm Sahana Gero and I'm the Artistic Director of World Heartbeat. This year, the London Festival of Architecture's theme is care, and it is particularly suitable for us as a music organisation and a music academy, and somebody that really cares for our students. And music makes everybody care for everything. It's about care, it's about humanity, it's about unity. So we've got a small music performance for you, and then we've got Rory Aitkenhead, who's going to give a great presentation and a question and answers at the end. And please, if you have any questions, do put them through on the chat line. Welcome and enjoy the show, and it's such a great privilege for World Heartbeat Music Academy to be part of London Festival of Architecture 2021.
Good afternoon. I'll be playing, first of all, a piece by Bach called Fugue in G. It's part of the ABRSM grade 6 piano. And then afterwards, I'm going to be playing Una Mensa Santa Marta by Rico. On purpose to show the difficulties of life, but music can help afterwards, but you always have to give it a chance. To say thank you very much, World Heartbeat, for teaching me a lot of things, and teaching me the gift of music. And thank you for listening to me tonight.
No.
HDMI, Nick.
Is that working?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Good.
Have we got Tosh's thing?
Can you tell Jim number 3?
Okay. Hi. So what you just heard is just a small selection of some of our students. We have 300 and over 360 students, about 370 students that come into these doors every single day. And there was just a very small selection that we prepared for you today. And next on the agenda, and then the last video you heard was actually one of our fine cellists. She's a cello teacher here. She's Nanciata. And she was playing in Embassy Gardens. And so what you're going to hear now is a presentation by Rory Aitkenhead, the architect, and James Gero. Sorry, I just moved out of the camera. James Gero, the CEO. And they're going to do a short presentation all about the new development up in Nine Elms. Are you ready now?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Rory Aitkenhead. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm director at RA. Alongside me is James Gero from World Heartbeat. As I'm sure you're aware from the excellent music you've just heard this evening, this year's theme of care at the LFA, it couldn't be more fitting for a client. I would like to start with a presentation, which I'm going to go into now, and then if you could have any questions or comments, please use the YouTube comment section, and at the end they'll be read out and answered. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy and you've enjoyed the music up to this point. Let's go. The context of the project is within the Nine Elms Embassy Gardens master plan. Battersea Power Station is here to your left, and the red element here is the World Heartbeat Embassy Gardens, which acts as a key cultural anchor for this development and for the site. The American Embassy is located just here, and the new Northern Line train extension is just here. So it's very much a kind of creation of a new part of the city of London, and the music industry and the economic importance of music really kind of has a cultural anchor position here in this site, and that's excellent. As you will be aware from the musicians you've just heard, one of World Heartbeat's most valuable assets are their students, and this building really is a kind of nurturing building to sort of evolve with these extremely talented young people. There are 3 entrance doors to the site and to the project. The main World Heartbeat, Embassy Gardens doors that lead into a cafe and foyer space. Through these double sets of folding twin doors, you lead into the auditorium, and then these are closed to allow for the acoustic isolation of the building. The cafe theme is one of nature and nurture, and we have this kind of sculpture that's almost like a tree around the coffee table. The carpet is woven plastic cable, and obviously there's a lot of technology that's going into this building, which I'll touch on in a minute. Alongside the cafe and that walkway into the main performance space and auditorium, there's this door here, which is the stage door and the rear access to the building and the means of escape. A chair store, some office with some glazing at the front, and then a lobby space with 2 recording studios at the back. This is an artist's impression of one of those recording studios with the sound booths at the back. The premise with the project is to allow some of their extremely talented students the ability to cut their own first records, to not have the kind of bureaucracy of record labels behind them, but be allowed to kind of produce their own music within this space. The performance space itself also has the flexibility to record within. This visual here that you're looking at demonstrates that, and there is a visual connection between the two spaces. We have these kind of glazed elements here that connect what is the recording studio that you've just seen and the performance space. I'll go into in a bit more detail into the performance of the room and how the room works, but its natural material is timber, and that allows us to be quite flexible with our levels of absorption and reflection. Also, the room is very flexible, so it has a standing capacity of over 200 and a seated capacity that varies dependent on the seating setup. This is a view back towards the doors and to the gantry level with a kind of standing setup. It also allows us to have the functionality to offer cabaret or other events and tables and chairs with a very multifunctional purpose space. In this visual, you'll see it almost in the round configuration. And this is a view from the gantry level, the balcony, looking down with the stage end on. This little stage, this slide starts to demonstrate that idea of flexibility. Now, one of the interesting things with creating a flexible auditorium from seating locations is the passive acoustic performance of the room. Very typically, a stage is always in one position and the audience are always in a single position. With this building and with the multifunctionality of the musical offer and the configurations, we have introduced a dynamic audio system to compensate for the fact that both the audience and the performers can be within different spaces within the same room. This Soundspace Vision, our acousticians who are very well versed and are local to the area, have basically worked with us to create a room that has very good passive acoustics. The graph on your right hand side sort of is demonstrating the reverberation times within the room in its static sense. That is created by kind of having about 80% reflectivity on the bass and a 50% reflectivity in the middle section and 20% reflectivity in the top. Absorption is obviously mirrored back on that. So at the top we have 80% absorption, the middle 50% absorption, and at the bottom 20% absorption. The vertical elements that you'll have seen in the visuals, they act as reflectors and disperse the sound in different directions. You would classify the room's general acoustic as being excellent for jazz, but one of the kind of most interesting and dynamic elements of this space is the introduction of the D&B Auto-Technic system sound space. Basically, a series of speakers around the room allow us to record live and then relay back to the audience exactly almost within 0.1 second with no time delay. That allows the room to have any audio characteristics. So D&B have recorded auditoria all over the world, and with this data they can then use their algorithm to alter the acoustic output of the musicians and the instruments. So in effect, if we want to make the room more reflective for a classical concert, we can do that using this PA system. Likewise, if we are looking to change the position of the stage, that can also be done with object tracking. I think one of the most fascinating and exciting parts of this building, as I mentioned on earlier, is the extremely talented young musicians that make up the World Heartbeat family. And DB, as am I, and others, extremely excited to see what these very talented young people do with this technology. Of course, the seats are also a key part of this, and you can see myself and James are sitting in two seats. These have the impression of being fixed, but they're actually flexible and they move. They lock together with clasps beneath that sit here, and they have two varying sizes: the standard size that I'm in at the moment and the larger size that James is sitting in. There's a floor pin that locates the ends of the rows with all these different configurations, and that just pops out of the floor and hooks under the front of the chair, and then the chairs interlock together to stop any snaking or movement. The room itself is completely isolated from the building above, so it sits on a floating concrete It sits on a floating concrete slab which is isolated from the base building. Then we have 250 mil of blockwork that sits on that isolated floating slab, and then steelwork that then sits on that wall. So in effect, everything with this room is acoustically isolated from the base building. We have the same principle in the recording studios and in some of the teaching spaces on the mezzanine level. You can see these sections sort of showing the vertical elements and the dispersed absorbing timber panels. These panels will have holes routed into them and absorption through insulation behind them, and that is how we create that absorbing panels and reflecting panels. Reflecting panels are just solid timber. Absorbing panels have holes in them and then have insulation behind them, and that is how we can kind of curate the perfect room acoustics in a dead sense. So up onto the mezzanine level, you enter up through this stair here, and this is very much more a teaching floor. You have two practice rooms here along the front that have a dividable door to allow them to become two, or can be folded away to create one large space. You have this larger space here, which is in effect a music technology room, which will allow for post-production, recording, live relay from the performance space mixed back into this space. It's a super highly connected building. The servers and racks rooms are over here, our toilets and facilities here, entrance onto the gantry and balcony here, and then the plant room, which is obviously attenuated so that when we're recording within this space we're not picking up any of the sound, but we're keeping the room as well ventilated as possible. There's also a green room that's tucked away here neatly, and that gives direct stage access down the stairs and back into the backstage area. This is a visual from at the top of the stairs where you see this broadcast room and one of those teaching rooms, and off to your left would be the entrance to our auditorium. These visuals are from one of the teaching room spaces, which has a kind of sound booth within it. Again, this room is fully isolated. You might have seen on the plans that we ramped up into this space, and that allows us to do that same box-in-box construction. Also up on this level you have the gantry itself, which gives an opportunity for a mixing desk location. As we explained earlier, you also have that connectivity between the recording studio and this space, so that has the potential to act as a mixing location too. Also for seating. The balustrade and handrail itself is well thought through and crafted. When you have a row of seats within a certain distance of the balcony front, the balcony height can be 800 mil high. But when you're walking around on that area, it needs to be 1100 high. So the balcony front itself actually has a tippable element at the front that varies from the taller 1100 as seen on the right here to the lower 800 on in front of the seated audience in this shot. I think this attention to detail and this kind of care for always trying to make things the best they can be is something that's been endearing with this client. They have so much care for their end user, and they're always saying, well, Rory, why can we not push it? Why can we not, give our students the best possible space, the best possible building? And the answer to that is, well, why not? Of course you can. And I think with these tools and with this kind of space and with this kind of building, the results can truly be outstanding. And the music industry is fed by generations of young musicians. And it's obviously a key part of London's economy, our global economy. In recent times, relaying performances as we're doing today all over the world. This is showing back to showing the space as a recording setup, and you get to see some of the architecture with the varying timber panels, the surround sound speakers, D&B integrated into the building, and the multi kind of functionality of the space and how it looks. So hopefully you've got some questions, and thank you very much for your time this evening.
So I wanted to introduce the question and answer part of the presentation. And we've got Maya Vyas, who's 14 years old. And she's come up with some questions, and she's going to ask them to me and also to James. And go ahead. And also there might be some questions in the chat, and so we'll be responding to them as well.
What was your inspiration for the new building?
You were. I mean, all the students here, all the young musicians are our inspiration. For anybody that knows of our work or has seen any of our work, we're operating out of an old converted warehouse in Kimber Road, where we're actually live streaming for you today. And it was derelict, and we managed to persuade the landlords to give it to us for rent-free in exchange for some radiators. And we just built from literally nothing a music academy. But now, today, I mean, people are teaching the tiny little kitchen and the stairwells and the fire exit, like on the, just everywhere there's multiple musicians in any one room. And we're just so overcrowded that we need some space. Plus the actual talent and the actual need of needing spaces where musicians can go and play and perform and practice is really important. I just have one more thing to say about this. I mean, if you're a sportsman, there's plenty of outdoor space. You can go and play tennis or football or anything. But when it's a musician, there isn't so much space. There aren't so many spaces for young people. So it's really, really important that we have space. And I think there should be a music academy on every street corner, like Starbucks.
When in regards to inspiration for the design of the building, and when I first met with James and Sahana, and we discussed the types of music that are performed and taught within their academy, I was just blown away with the breadth and depth of this. You know, they don't necessarily specialise within just classical or just jazz, and such a large array of musical instruments, and that kind of led the ability of the brief to be as flexible as possible, and that led us to being able to kind of not close any doors to the direction or the ability of musicians to perform within the space. And likewise in our terms of our flexibility of audience size or capacity or orientation, it kind of married up perfectly with that. So it's very inspiring. And also the kind of nurturing growth, the progression of, you know, the 5 or 6 year old that enters the academy to the 18-year-old, 19-year-old who leaves as this amazing, talented musician, and how the building that we will create will be part of that journey for these individuals, and therefore needs to be able to kind of grow in its own way as well.
Next question.
Will the new place still feel like a Wild Heartbeat place?
I hope so.
No, definitely. That's one. That is the key remit. I mean, it's going to be different, but it's going to have the same ethos behind it, and we're trying to make it a home away from home. We're looking at the same sort of feel to the Wild Heartbeat, you know.
Plus, actually, the youngsters, I mean, you've been here when we've been deciding on fabric for, like, even the seats or designs. And so the musicians have actually led to the design. It's been designed with musicians.
And the young people have been the first to actually see the building. I mean, you saw it before even our trustees, I think. So, you know, you've been very much part of the whole package.
I've got a question come in from outside of the building. It's probably one for Rory to answer for us. The gentleman says Nigel, should I say, says one thing that has intrigued for me is the use of timber for the acoustic panels in the auditorium. Why choose timber? Is there a specific timber that works best? And were they able to use recycled timber in the project?
So we're still in the procurement stages on this project, and final decisions on the exact timber and its sourcing are still to be ironed out. The space, Bob Essert from Soundspace Vision, who's been a key part of the acoustic design of the auditorium, was a keen advocate of a raised, in effect, sprung timber floor as being very much industry standard. With the walls, we had looked at other materials, but there's something quite nice about a continuity in materiality with a varied form, shall we say. And there's something nice that, even though we had these kind of striking vertical elements and then these like boxed out panels, that actually they have a similar material language, even if formally they're quite unique. The timber itself, as I sort of mentioned in the presentation, with the boxed cube panels and their offset nature, because they have holes within them and some of them have the ability to fill them with insulation, they can actually be very absorptive, much more absorptive than timber would be as a solid panel. So hopefully it's robust, hopefully it'll age well. The floor, for example, will begin to kind of take on its character. It will be a solid floor, sort of 22 mil solid timber floor. So yeah, I mean, there's also this kind of concept of nurture, care, growth, that obviously timber as a material sort of has that. It kind of takes on its characteristics. It will age. It will sort of grow with the building.
And at the new place, what kind of skills can we learn other than just instruments?
Very good question. Obviously, the ones that you're learning now are great communication. There's great friendships. I always believe that people from World Heartbeat, the young people, remain friends for an extremely long time. They have a very deep-rooted friendship and patience, and they learn the usual team working skills. But I think one of the things that World Heartbeat has is the young people learn a passion, and they learn to be passionate about something. When they learn to be passionate, the world is their oyster. They can achieve anything, and that's one of the biggest thing for young people. If you can get them passionate about something, then you just have to give them everything to kind of grow that passion. Apart from that, you have to remember that one band goes on the road, there's 400 people behind it. So we are trying to obviously develop the skills through the technology side of things, through the lighting, those skills. And we just started a new a mentoring scheme with Domino Records, and that's with A&R and syncing and learning legal and international marketing and digital marketing. So all those other skills will be available. And this building will be, as Rory said, we're putting the cutting edge technology. This is not something that you're going into a school where they have old analog theatre style boards. You're learning what they're actually in the industry, going to big concerts. And hopefully we can develop those partnerships where you can actually be mentored and shadow on major events, and that's where we're working towards. So you'll learn a lot of new skills as well as the ones that we nurture here.
And will we be able to record our own stuff at the new academy?
Absolutely. I mean, we're building as the state-of-the-art recording studio, and part of our ethos is so that young people, underrepresented artists, can record and use the space to record. And we want to record people's first albums, and it's all about recording as well as performance and learning. Oh, I think we've got another question come from the...
Been asked to use your mic, James. Hello, everybody. So I'm taking the questions from outside, and the next one comes from Mary Alice. Thanks for your question. And she wants to ask the panel, so I think you could have a bun fight about this one, and brace yourselves. What are the biggest challenges you've faced in getting the project to this stage? And what is your next big milestone?
Well, the big milestone is tomorrow morning. I thought it was today. We're going to tender. So that's a huge milestone for us, which means that in 8 weeks, hopefully, we're actually starting the build. That's a big milestone. Obviously, fundraising seems to be an eternal milestone. So, these kind of projects do cost money. And to actually go to Sahana's previous, why sports fields are always there, is relatively easy. And anything which has a challenge seems to be just pushed aside. So technically sound is a very difficult medium to work with if you're doing it well. So that's always a challenge. And we pushed really our team of consultants and Rory and our team to the limit. I mean, we really have. This COVID, I know it's been tragic, but it's given us time to really push them really into insanity. You know, we've pushed them into everything, and why can't we do that? And you know, the law of physics doesn't allow you to do that, but you know, we've kind of pushed it back, and eventually, I think we've got something really special here. So, I'm not sure if you've got other things, Rory. Obviously,
I think one of James's previous answers, he talked about how important the passion was for the children. And one thing I can say from a kind of architect and client relationship is the passion definitely comes from these guys. They have an immense amount of passion, and that just like effervesces off to their children and everyone who comes into contact with them. And what's so beautiful about this project is the crafted nature, the kind of obsession for detail, skies are the limit, that mindset at every step of the way. And that is their mindset to their students, and that's why their students are being so successful and are so talented, because they come in here and literally the sky is the limit. So very much from an architect's perspective, clearly, you know, you have to live with the reality, but actually it's lovely to work with clients who are this passionate. And it might feel like hard work, James, but actually it's so enjoyable to work on projects where it's so much care and love, and it's such a huge part of it. So no, it's brilliant. I mean, the consultant team on this worked very hard. It's a technically complex building. It's a very small space. There are X number of flats above us. That, you know, there are project constraints, but those constraints lead to the best projects as well. Without them, you don't have the friction, and you don't have the ability, in my opinion, to kind of often create things that are really beautiful. Yeah.
But also, it's the first specialist community concert hall that's been built since 2008 in London. I mean, apart, you know, we know that the Guildhall built music concert hall, the Royal Academy, and the Royal College. But apart from that, and there is a reason why there hasn't been concert halls built since 2008 in London, because it's very, very difficult. But we're succeeding, and we're really excited.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any more questions?
Well, you were saying about building the concert hall, and so you've got your auditorium in the new place, and I'm just wondering who will actually get to perform on that stage.
You, Maya.
Maya's actually a very talented flute player, but the place is built for musicians, and we're going to have a really exciting concert program with headline artists and a full concert program. So it will be with top world-class musicians, and also there will be student performances and warm-up bands for the main acts as well. So there'll be a lot of chances.
I think the location of this building is quite special. You know, it's going to be central London, well connected, and also a bespoke, beautifully crafted new auditorium that are very rare, and the ability to perform shows that have great intimacy with the audience, the ability to have any breadth of musical performance played, our dynamic audio system. So I think it's extremely exciting, and I'm very excited to see those artists that might find this place and fall in love with it, as we all have, and we really hope they do, as well as your amazing talented students like yourself, Maya.
And also in America, worldwide, everybody wants to go and play in Madison Square Gardens. And here in London, you can all come and play in Embassy Gardens. It's going to be like the United Nations of music,
and the American
right in
Embassy's
London.
just around the corner.
Sorry. One last question. I think we're mindful of needing to wrap up in a moment, and I have another question come in from outside, from Rachel. She's interested just to know, you know, how many, we've got a student body at the moment, how many is that? How many students will we have, you know, once we get to full capacity at the new place? And, you know, are they the same kind of students? And, you know, who's going to be coming in student-wise?
Well, we have around 370 students now. We're expecting to reach about 700 students Who we're going to get? Well, we accept everyone, so we never know who we're going to get. I mean, you know, we accept everyone. We're incredibly diverse here, so it's just wonderful. And I expect the same will be over in Nine Elms as well. I don't think it's going to be any different.
We're actually in Nine Elms. We have we're right on the estate, and some of the actually hardest, like least engagement estates that we have in the UK, and so we're really excited about being able to attract these youngsters to come and be part of the Music Academy. Do you have any more questions?
I mean, I guess on that point, the building will be a communal draw to this area. The development itself needs these cultural anchors to be a successful place. In effect, as a place, it's new, it's in its infancy. If any of you have been to Nine Elms or Embassy Gardens, it's sort of, you know, this is really about place creating, and we really hope that, well, as Sahana alluded to in one of her earlier questions, you know, why can't every development that's built like this everywhere have a venue or an academy such as these, because it's going to be such a success.
It's true. Like, once we've done it, we'll write a book on how to build a concert hall. This was my friend Julian Joseph's idea. We'll write a book on how to build a concert hall, and as you said, every development can come, read this book, and build a concert hall. Brilliant. A little theatre. I think they should be there everywhere, don't you?
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much.
Do you want one last question, or shall we wrap up?
I've got one more question.
Okay, last question.
Will we, like the students, get to meet the professional musicians that come to perform?
Absolutely. We're a community here. So the world-class musicians, I mean, if you don't pass on music, then it stops. And music is a language of humanity. It's a language. And so absolutely, the professional musicians and the world-class musicians will come, and they'll want to meet you, they'll want to teach you, they'll want to be there with you, and they'll be very proud.
And the young people actually inspire the professional musicians, believe it or not.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and back to the theme of the LFA, this London Festival of Architecture this year in care. You know, the cost to care when you're as passionate about this as professional artists will be. You know, it's nothing. That James is right. They'll be as inspired by, you know, yourselves and your enthusiasm as anything.
So we wanted to thank you, Rory. He really is an outstanding architect, and really is a joy to work with.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much.
I would just like to say, you know, the same about good projects are built by good teams, and most importantly, good clients. You know, the passion is so important, as any of the architects who are watching this know, and there's, you know, you can sense the passion hopefully from this presentation this evening and performances. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.